Okay, I want to introduce Nick maybe just real quickly. He's the Director of Sales for CMMS Data Group, CDG, which was founded in 2000. CMMS Data Group is a market leader in the CMMS software and services area, led by the award-winning MVP Plant CMMS system, combined with its professional services, technical support. Nick holds a BS in Business Administration, Marketing, Transportation, and Logistics from The Ohio State University. Nick is focused on identifying, developing customer maintenance software solutions, and he has been developing and implementing a comprehensive strategy to revamp CDG's marketing approach. Just a little side note here too, last year, Plant Engineering magazine usually has their awards every year, and MVP Plant version 2.0 received Plant Engineers 2019 Product of the Year Maintenance Software category Gold Award, which is the highest award that they offer. So anyways, take it away, Nick.
Well, thanks, Bob, and thanks, Mike, and everybody who's joining us today. Just to confirm, can you see the screen that I have up?
We can see it, Nick.
Yes.
Perfect. All right. Just wanted to make sure. So we're excited to be part of the Project FAME with ALN, CAI, and excuse me, BIMStorm. And as Bob mentioned, since 2000, we've really been helping organizations through our asset management solutions and services that we offer. And today I'll really be focusing in on the role of the computerized maintenance and management system in the digital transformation of asset management. So the first thing that we'll start with is just to kind of understand, why are we needing to manage our assets? Why is it important to track asset related data? And it really comes down to 4 different components: making sure that we have the data to make the best decisions, that we are delivering better quality to our internal and external stakeholders, and then helping support those continuous improvement strategies through better troubleshooting. And at the end of the day, justifying those investments and purchases that we need to make as an organization through complete and accurate data that we've been talking about. So as we expand on the first topic, through better decision-making, we want to track all of that relevant data. And by doing that, we're going to know which asset's really failing the most, it's costing the most money, which customers, whether they're internal or external, are submitting the most work requests, uncovering any dissatisfied customers. And then from a maintenance standpoint, understanding those technicians who are completing the most work orders most effectively and have the highest level of customer service orientation. We really do believe that quality starts with maintenance. So by having an asset management solution, we're going to be able to deliver better quality to both our internal and external stakeholders. And without a system, and if we're not tracking our work or our parts against an asset, it's going to be really difficult to understand what issues that might be coming up in your operation. And then finally, from a better troubleshooting standpoint, this is going to help us understand those failures that are happening on our assets so that we can do better continuous improvement strategies. We can do failure analysis, root cause analysis, and then do better planning for future events. The other thing that having asset information in a system is important is for that knowledge transfer. As people leave or retire organizations, it's really critical that we don't have that information that about those assets left behind. So having that in a system is really critical. And then finally, with the better justifications, one of the best reasons to have this is to really justify, investments and everything throughout the asset life cycle. So, MVP Plant or CMMS in general can really help organizations throughout the operational phase of the asset life cycle, and then make decisions, when it comes to end of life as well. Many times, people will perceive that these technologies are going to replace the need for labor, but our most successful clients are those that, take the information from the system and do projections and better planning to help increase operational capacity and reduce conversion costs. So a CMMS can really improve the effectiveness. And that's where we're going to store all of the data, is in a CMMS or enterprise asset management solution. At the end of the day, it's really important because without having the data in a system, it's going to be almost impossible to report on that data. So, unfortunately, there's still a good portion of organizations out there that are still recording things on paper. You have different functional leads populating multiple spreadsheets, or, the other reality is that it's just stored in somebody's memory without being documented. And so it's really critical that any system or any CMMS that you're using has quick and easy reports and graphs so that that information can be shared with the key stakeholders in your organization. So for those of you who are not familiar, computerized CMMS stands for Computerized Maintenance Management Systems. You'll also hear other names. There's different solutions that can be used, enterprise asset management, facility asset management system. But it's really taking that information that Mark just showed in a graphical format and getting that data into the system. So as Mike mentioned, that export table, I was able to take that and import that directly into our system within a matter of minutes and make sure that the hierarchy was set up. So having that information being shared is very, very helpful. And a CMMS will consolidate many different aspects of asset management, but also expand it to other areas as well. And it's going to help you track and manage, report and respond to assets, any of the work that needs to be performed on those assets, whether that's preventive maintenance or predictive maintenance. So we're looking at those different acceptable ranges and predicting that something may be failing before a functional failure actually happens. Then we can also, track failure codes and failure analysis. We can store the spare parts that we use for those assets, and then also manage the replenishment of those spare parts. And another critical component is the people. So making sure that we have the right people working on the right jobs with the right skill levels. So making sure that we have the right resources dedicated. Our founder often correlates maintenance of assets to the game of chess. It's really critical that organizations have a CMMS software to allow them to respond to a lot of those opposing forces that are happening every day, whether it's cost or downtime or the inventory beast that's taking over a storeroom, dealing with part shortages or customer dissatisfaction. So the CMMS really helps give the information needed to respond. And as we've talked about with the industrial 1.0 through 4.0 and now to pharma 4.0, CMMS and EAM is also evolving with the maintenance tech methodology. So to this day, many organizations continue to use manual processes. And with those, paper, it's difficult to report. With Excel, it's disjointed, and it's typically maintained by different functions. The other reality is that there's a lot of legacy systems out in the marketplace, and those don't have the technologies and open standards and good reporting that you would need to be able to communicate out to those key stakeholders. And then from a current system standpoint, there are web-based solutions out there that allow you to have access to your data very quickly in whatever location that you're at. Solutions like our MVP plant CMMS offer wireless mobility so that we're eliminating that paper and we're ensuring complete and accurate data that's getting into the system so that we can make those informed decisions versus guesses. And then as Mike alluded to, making sure that the system has secure and open standards through APIs or import wizards or, single sign-on, those types of functionality. And then integrating with sensors and other types of integrations. And as Bob mentioned, we're really starting to see a lot of excitement in the future state of CMMS, where we're looking at complementary solutions to align with other functional areas. So a lot of our customer base is maintenance. But we'll see solutions that will tie into OEE and production, and then leveraging AI, augmented reality, and virtual reality. So what I'll do is I'll just kind of show you some screenshots of the MVP plant software. This is a CMMS, Enterprise Asset Management System. So when you first log into the system, what you'll see is that you'll have a customizable dashboard. And this dashboard can be tailored to whatever information is important to that stakeholder that's going to be logging into the system. When we go to the assets module, we have 4 different classes of assets. So we have equipment, locations, repairable spares, and systems. Repairable spares is a little bit of a unique situation because it's a hybrid between an asset and inventory item. So you can rebuild those and put them back into service. But everything that's critical and that needs to be known is here on the general tab. So all of this information is coming directly from that import template that was provided by Mark. And then we were able to import that using our import wizard. And then we'll also be able to see that asset hierarchy as to how that relates to the overall operation. The great thing is that we can actually run reports to allow us to see our parent-child cost across all levels of the asset hierarchy. As we continue going down the asset record, you'll be able to see all of the related spare parts, any type of meter reading. So for this example, we've set up a single-use bioreactor. And from a meter reading standpoint, we can track like the pH or the temperature of those assets. And then we can actually tie those into OPC or PLC tags and have those automatically generate work orders, whether that's preventive or predictive based upon a frequency that you set up, or an out of range value. At the bottom, you can see all of the PMs and PDMs. So you can see the next due date and all the other related information. And then as we move on, another component of an asset management solution is the inventory or spare parts component. So what we can do is we can track all of those different parts that are used on our assets to help ensure that we have the parts on hand at the time that we need them, so we don't have parts related downtime. So on this one, you'll notice that I created a connector for that bag for the single-use bioreactor. And then PMs and PDMs, in a highly regulated industry, it's really important for organizations to have that information about preventive maintenance at your fingertips. We set up a PM for that bioreactor. And one of the really critical components of MVP plant in a highly regulated industry is that audit history. And so at a glance, you can see all of the times that a work order has generated on that bioreactor, and then the status and the next due date for that PM. So you can really leverage, process surveillance method like predictive maintenance and OEE to help monitor those critical process parameters to help support the critical quality attributes. And then one of the key documents in any asset management solution is the work order. And that's really the document that ties everything together, that includes the labor, the parts, the services that might be required, all back to that asset. So a wireless mobile solution will enable organizations to track 100% of all of their labor and parts while ensuring complete and accurate data. And that's really what's most important, is that complete and accurate data that we've been talking about today. Because without that, we're just guessing or using ideas to make our decisions. So at the end of the day, it's really important that we verify the data. The electronic data collection, it doesn't replace human verification. So like with the work orders, it's really important to make sure that that data is objective and it's complete. And, there's a work order closeout process that helps us take that information that's gathered from that and then take that to put back into the process through continuous improvement, whether it's, better planning, adjustments to PM schedules, those types of items. And then we must analyze the data, right? If we're not going to analyze the data, then we really need to take a step back and determine why are we actually collecting the data to begin with. We really should be taking a look at the industry benchmarks and the organizational KPIs that have been agreed to from an asset management standpoint. And it's really important that we have timely and accessible reporting. So a lot of solutions have the ability to automatically generate those reports and be sent out to all the different stakeholders. So this can eliminate hours, tens of hours, a month, just by automating that delivery of those reports. So we'll kind of look at some of the standard reports that we have at MVP Plant. Have hundreds of different standard reports, but some of these are typically found in any CMMS solution. We'll focus on assets for today, but we'll show an example of some reports that we have. So at the top here, this is asset cost. So you can see here that I can look at my total parts and labor cost for whatever date range that I want. And much like Enuma, where you can export, you can also export in all these different formats. We can also track our downtime. So we can have our scheduled versus actual. And then again, we can take this information and do better planning from a downtime standpoint in the future. We can look at our asset utilization and then our PM effectiveness. So are we actually doing corrective action, or perhaps are we over maintaining some of our assets? And our tagline, or our motto, is share knowledge for quality results. So, it's really about removing those information silos, by sharing that data, so that we can, help promote those, positive outcomes, and then, get feedback for those that might not be so positive. So this will really help drive the culture, change the culture, and allow all of the stakeholders to act like owners. And then the final point will be about responding to the data. So we need to leverage that data to really drive continuous improvement. And this will help drive improvements in budgeting, better planning, better scheduling. Take those KPIs that you have and compare those against those industry benchmarks. And then, make sure that you have both a combination of, leading and lagging indicators, and then uncover those weaknesses and then respond to them by, identifying opportunities to drive operational capacity and reduce conversion costs. And with that, that pretty much sums it up. In today's market, information is power, and the more that we have better information, the better our decisions are going to be. And then the faster that we respond and the better that we respond based upon those decisions we make, the more competitive that will be. So with that, that's an overview of CMMS and EAM and the importance of data and open standards. I'll go ahead and hand it back over to Nick or Bob, and we'll take it from there.